So week 4, final week, talk about investing tonight. Let's see here. Well, I'll get into that in a moment. First, let's open up in prayer. Thank you all for coming. And Mike, I'll just say my heart was heavy enough for your family last week and the whole church. And we really miss Nancy. But glad you guys are here. And we love you guys. Glad to have you with us. All right. Good to see you all, church family. Let's get started in prayer, and then I'm bringing it back. I know we're talking about investing, but I was like, I got to talk about some more spiritual things because I just love talking about Jesus and God, and it's more important than money anyway. So what's even better than money and God? So anyway, we'll get into that. Pastor Joel, would you mind opening us up in prayer, please?
Lord, we're grateful for this chance to gather together again and for the things that you're teaching us. We pray that we would have open minds and hearts to receive what you have for us. We pray that you would guide John and others who may be sharing, Lord, and give them also your wisdom and understanding as they share. So we give you this time, and pray you help us to be better stewards of what you've given to us. Amen. Thanks, Pastor.
All right, slide 2, please. All right, disclaimer. I am showing my lack of age here with some of the content. As you can see, my experience with investing is going to be, it could be very different from some of you. And so I guess the point here I'm making is I have a lot to learn tonight, or I hope I'm going to learn a lot from you guys too. So we'll talk about some investing things, and hopefully we'll all learn some. And towards the end, I'll have some questions. I'll be asking you guys a lot of questions, see if I can learn from you from investing, because I will admit, of all the 4 sessions, this is the one I have most room to grow in. So that's my disclaimer. But that said, I still hope and pray that we will all learn something tonight. Oh, the second bullet point there, to try to build up my own ego and pride here, I will say, I blame the pandemic and the man or the institution for my lack of success or not letting me day trade with investing. I will admit, right now with my stocks, I'm not in the black. I'm doing much better, thankfully, in the past few months, but I'm not quite there in the black. But anyway, we'll get into that. Not what you want to hear from somebody talking about investing, huh? At least I'm being honest, right? I'm in the black in other investment vehicles, just not that one. All right, before we talk about physical money, let's talk about some spiritual stuff here. As Christians, we have access to an investment vehicle that others don't have access to. I want to tell you all about it. This is a sales pitch, and it is wonderful. There is a catch, but all good things, all good things. So, number 1, we can invest in the next life. And if you've read, or as we read earlier, Matthew 6, 19 through 24 says, no moth or rust can destroy your treasure in heaven. You can buy gold here, it will tarnish. It can be stolen. Not that good. It does increase in value here on earth, but it can still be stolen. And when you die, you can't take it with you. So there's better options. Invest in the next life. Not affected by stock market fluctuations. As I was saying, I have been affected, and I'm sure others have been as well. You're always guaranteed a positive return. You'll never lose out. It will never lose value. That's a great investment. Not affected by inflation. That's been real tough lately. And let's see. Sorry, I'm kind of in your way a little bit here. Move over a little bit. Sorry, my cord only stretches so far here. There's no taxes when you spend it. Depending on if you're investing financially into your heavenly future, you still have to pay taxes on the money you receive. But you don't have to pay taxes when you spend that money, and you don't pay any taxes on the returns or the appreciation of your heavenly investments. So that's great. Double tax advantaged. Even better, it's insured by God. That's better than FDIC. They only give you up to like $250,000. This is unlimited. That's a better option. And the excess dividends spill over into other accounts. And they can spill over into this life as well. But wait, there's more. In your heavenly investment accounts, you can add more than just financial things. You can add your time, your talents, and your prayers as well. Everyone, regardless of age, ability, and income, can contribute to their next life investment vehicle. And that's an important one. All of you can invest. Now here's the catch. Investing in God's kingdom and life and the life to come is not just good for you and good for others. The Lord expects it of you as well. So let's remember the parable of the talents, Matthew 25, 14 through 18. I'm going to assume that we all have that, so I won't read that one. We will read some scripture later, but so somebody give me a quick summary of the parable of the talents. Make you guys start talking here. Come on, somebody. Gage, were you going to say something? Tell us, Gage.
I don't remember. Is that the three servants or no?
There were 3 servants, yes, and they were each given some talents, or what's a talent, right?
A coin. Great.
It was a coin or money.
And okay, so I'm gonna try some items.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so the master gave her 3 servants a servant and a coin. The first one I think got like 10. Second one got
10
5.
talents.
The third one got 2.
Got Cody's whispering from the back one. 10, 5, and 1. All right, well, regardless of the specifics, what is the point? What is the moral or the lesson to be learned from the story?
The moral or lesson to be learned is don't hide or bury your talents.
Right, use your talents, invest. And talents is not just money. In that story, talents were gold coins. But talents, in our case, is also your time, your abilities, your skills the Lord has given to all of us. And the Lord has given all of us spiritual gifts for those who are believers. So you all have gifts. Use them. All right, so questions on that. Very well done, Gage. I'm very impressed. Good work. So what happened to the servant who didn't invest what he was given? We'll go to Cody this time. Thanks, Gage.
When the master came back and realized that the servant hid the treasure out of like fear that, well, just because he loved his master so much that he didn't want anything to happen to his money. And the master was mad at the servant because he didn't go out and try to make interest with what he was doing.
So the servant or the master was mad at him, but then what happened to the servant? The translation I read said, the master said something along the lines of, get rid of this worthless servant, throw him outside where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's a pretty big, that's just like, oh, I'm mad at you. That's the term often used in the scriptures for hell, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Yeah, he took what he had and gave to someone else who was a good servant and a good investor. So, invest your talents. Don't be thrown outside or there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Also a note about James 2, 14 through 26. And I will read this one. Please feel free to turn with me. And yeah, so let's go ahead and read that. James chapter 2. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go to slide. Oh, I'm skipping ahead. I am so sorry. Slide 5. Sorry, I'm skipping through in mine, but I forget I'm not connected to the laptop. So sorry about that. All right, James chapter 2, verses 14 through 16. From the New King James says, what does it profit, my brethren, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister is naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you says to them, depart in peace, be warmed and filled, but you do not give them the things which are needed for the body, what does it profit? Thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. But someone will say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. You believe that there is one God. Good, you do well. Even the demons believe and tremble. But do you want to know, O foolish man, what faith without works? That faith without works is dead. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered Isaac his son on the altar? Do you see that faith was working together with his works, and by works faith was made perfect? And the scripture was fulfilled, which says, Abraham believed God, and it was accounted to him for righteousness. And he was called the friend of God. That's a good thing to be called. Imagine having that written about you in the Bible. And he was called the friend of God. You see then that a man is justified by works and not by faith only. Likewise, was not Rahab the harlot also justified by works when she received the messengers and sent them out another way? For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead. So I'm not preaching salvation through works, of course. Salvation is by grace through faith, but faith without works is dead. And so back to what I'm saying here about investing your time and talents. Like your work should be an investment into the kingdom. So I'll ask you guys or challenge you guys, do you invest your talents? Do you do it regularly? And do you do it intentionally? Or do you just, I have an opportunity here, okay, I'll go help this person, or I'll pray for that, or I'll help out here, or, the church might need help cleaning up, okay, I'll do that. And that's all great, but I encourage you guys to be intentional about your works or your giving of your time and talent, and do so regularly. And anybody can do it. And even if it's just prayer, I know there's a lot of great prayer warriors, and I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate it with the men's group too. We have a whole group prayer text group, and that's been great. And you can feel the power of the Lord working, or feel the effect of prayer in times. Or even times where I've been going through something, and I just feel the presence of the Lord. The Lord's just working it out. And then later, I'll hear from one of my buddies in the men's group, and they're saying, hey, I was praying for you in your week, how to go. And that's the Lord just being in tune in the hearts of those that are praying. So all that to say, prayer is a very effective ministry and time well spent. So anybody can invest their time and talents. All right. And last challenge, kind of what I was saying, do you just show up Sunday morning and get your tank filled? Or are you involved in ministry? It's kind of, you think about it, if all you're doing is showing up here Sunday, you're a taker. You're coming, you're getting encouraged, you're getting filled up, you're filled with the Holy Spirit. Take it from Pastor Joel, take it from others, and we thank you very much, Pastor Joel, for all that you give and encourage and build us up. But as a church, we need to do more than that. We need to also be givers. Take what you receive and go out and share it with others. So I'll challenge you guys to make sure that we are also being givers, and not just of our money, time, and talents, but also of time and talents. So any thoughts on that? I'm sure your whole sermons have been preached just on that. Okay, hopefully that's all old news for everyone, but still a good reminder. All right, next slide, please. Slide 6, please. All right, unfortunately, we are still here in the flesh, and our Lord is tarrying, or the Lord is coming. We are excited for his return. We celebrate his Passion Week this week, his love for us, but we still got some time on this earth, which means we have physical needs we need to take care of or do stuff. We need to work, we need to provide, and we need to prepare. We don't know what the future will hold. So now we're getting into the money part of it. Side note, something to think about. Work existed before the fall of mankind. So think about what ramifications that has for anybody who shoots off about work or doesn't want to work. Work existed before the fall, so it was good. So think about that. All right, let's read Ecclesiastes 11. Wait, did he say Ecclesiastes? Why Ecclesiastes? Who reads from Ecclesiastes? Isn't that all doom and gloom? That's right, I'm going there. So turn to Ecclesiastes. There's some good wisdom in those books if you've never read through Ecclesiastes. There is doom and gloom, but a lot of wisdom there. So Ecclesiastes 11, verses 1 and 2, and verse 6. I hear Jack and Jeff giggling over here. What'd you say, Jack? Coincidence? I think not. There's no coincidence with the Lord, right? There's sovereign, God's sovereignty, no coincidences. A little God sighting just right there. All right. Would anybody like to read Ecclesiastes verses 1, 2, and 6? Thank you, Andrew.
Send your burden across the sea, and in time profits will flow back to you. Divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risks might lie ahead. may be closed.
There we go. Thank you. So you can see the Bible even directly talks about investing. And there they'll say seed, and seed was your physical seed, plants, crops, growing food. That was a lot of the mainstay staples and money and the way they traded. They didn't have stocks back then, but they did a lot of trade. And not only that, but back to the note I said about preparing, providing. Food is preparing for the future, stocking up and providing for your family. So the Bible directly talks about these things. So another reason why we need to do this. Not only is it good for us and others, God requires it of us. And it's very good wisdom to do so. All right, so investing can be done in many different ways and at different stages in your life and situations of your life. Some ways may not be useful to you. If you're young, taking higher risk investments are probably could be a useful thing. If you're old or older and you don't need to make a lot of money, you just need to maintain or have a set of income, you don't want to be taking risky investments. And that is where I will say I have lesser experience with it, but I've tried to learn about this, and so we'll share what I do know and try to learn from each other, and I'm excited to do some learning. So with that, let's go with the low-hanging fruit. This is the most common one. This is something that most everyone can do. First step, get a job. There, that's pretty low-hanging fruit there. Get a job, make some money. Beyond that, see if you can get a job that offers a 401k, which is an investment vehicle, and then set up automatic payments. And we talked about that in previous weeks, so that every week you're investing in something, and it's out of sight, out of mind. It just happens, and you're not tempted to spend it because you never got it in the first place, right? So a couple good tips there. Sub-bullet there, max out your employer contributions. If your employer offers a, say, 6% match, put in at least 6%. That way you're making the full of it. So a quick math explanation, let's say you make $100. If you invest 6%, your employer matches up 6%. So you deposit $6, your employer deposits $6. And so each week you're getting a total of $12 invested. So you're getting 100% on your return right off the bat, whether your investment goes up or down, because your employer doubles your investment. So that's a good deal. So try to get a job that has a 401k and always max out your employer contribution, right? Pretty simple, pretty easy. One note of that, the next bullet point there is get vested. And you might need to plan ahead for this. A lot of employers, they will make that contribution, but if you quit your job before you're vested, you lose everything your employer's contributed. So think about that. This is a way that employers try to retain you and keep you there. They have a lot invested in you as far as time and knowledge. And so they want to keep that because turnover hurts the bottom line a lot. And if you're in management, it's really annoying and a pain and slows everything down. It's very frustrating. So that's one way businesses try to avoid that, is with the idea of vesting. So for you, that means if you are going to jump ship, make sure you have a very good reason. And think about what the pros and cons are, and that could be one of the cons. For example, at TE, the vesting period is 3 years. Anybody else know what their vest time is who have that or have gone through that? Government's 3 years as well. Anyone else? Well, on a sample size of 2, I'd say the average is 3 years. So there you go.
Where I got ours phased, at 1 year you got 30%, and then at 2 years you got 60%, and then at 3 years you got 20%.
Okay.
There was a lot of complaining about 3 years, I guess that's what happened. So they paid it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is I should do some more complaining so I get vested at least partially. No, just kidding. Thank you for sharing, Jack. So yeah, there you have it. It can change, but that is something to be aware of and to look out for. My first company for many years didn't offer a 401k, and then they did offer that and offered like a 3% match, but it was immediately vested. So just some different samples and data there for you to compare to. All right, next investment vehicle. Most larger corporations or companies will offer this. This is HSA, which stands for Health Savings Accounts. And this is triple tax advantaged. And that the 3 advantages are You can put money into it without paying tax on it. You can take money out of it and pay for medical expenses without paying taxes. And you can have that money be invested while you're not using it, and any gains or dividends it makes, you don't have to pay taxes on. So that's the three. There are, I think this year you can contribute up to $7,000 for a family. If it's just a single person, it's like $1,000 if you're less than that. And also the older you are, they have like catch-up contributions in different amounts that you can contribute. I'm sorry, I don't have that memorized. The one I had to know was 7,000. So, but just so you guys know, there are different amounts or limits that you can contribute each year. But I would say if you got the spare money, contribute to that because that's all tax-free money. So you do have to have a high deductible health plan to be eligible to contribute to an HSA. So an HSA will be more advantageous for someone who doesn't have a lot of recurring health bills per se, because otherwise you're going to have to meet your deductible and you're going to have to put away a lot of money to break even on those points. So more advantageous for someone in that situation. But if you put a lot into it, and that's something that's available to you as you get older. You can take it from one employer to the next. It's something that belongs to you. And yeah, let's see. What other points should I make about HSA? Did I miss anything?
I believe at HSA you can roll over $600 into the next year, but I don't know if that's the same case with an FSA. I think one of them you have to use by the end of the year, the other one, I think I have an HSA with the government, and I think you can carry over 600.
Our HSA, you can put money in and you don't have to, you can use none of it and still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, HSAs, everything carries over. Flexible spending accounts, use it or lose it with some minor things. But yeah, thank you. I didn't even mention FSAs.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Yeah, I have an HSA, and I think it's 600. So, but
Yeah, Lori still uses hers. And she's been retired for 2 years.
Those government workers. It's easy to shoot off about them. We appreciate the ones we have. Here, anyway, I'll say that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, FSAs, financial flexible spending accounts, that's a whole other option, kind of different category. Maybe that might work out for you better because you don't have to have a high deductible, but you can still kind of invest into it. So that might be kind of a different option for people who have regular reoccurring medical bills. All right, the next big one, IRAs, which stands for individual retirement accounts. And I will be honest, I don't have one of these, at least not yet. But anyone who, if you have an IRA, would you mind sharing? So who's got an IRA? Got quite a few IRAs. Okay. So I have a whole slide for IRAs. Let's talk IRAs here. So Roth or traditional. So let's say, oh, I'm sorry. Next slide, please. Slide 8. All right. So okay. Now you're talking a lot of acronyms, John. Try to keep this simple, right? So IRA, an individual retirement account, just an investment vehicle. Roth or traditional. There's many different types, or several different types, but the main two are Roth or traditional. So what are they? I try to simplify it here, thanks to the internet. With a Roth IRA, you contribute after-tax dollars. So you've already paid money, you've already been taxed on what you're putting into it. However, generally, you can make tax-free withdrawals. So when you reach 59 and a half, you can take the money out. You don't have to pay money generally. Well, and I don't know all the rules on that, but you have to pay tax on it. With a traditional IRA, you can contribute money pre or post-tax. So the advantage is you pay it pre-tax, so you can put more into it. And your money grows tax deferred as well. So any returns you get, you're not paying tax on that. However, when you withdraw it and take it out of your account, that's when you pay the taxes. So kind of the deciding factor of which one you use is what tax bracket are you in now, and what tax bracket do you think you'll be in when you retire. If you're not making a lot of money now, your tax bracket's low. A Roth IRA is probably the better way to go. You pay taxes on it when your tax rate, say, whatever, 17%. and let's say we're all going to be millionaires when you go to retire, and the tax rate there is 40%, depends on who's in office and what tax plan they're pushing. The latest I heard from the executive branch was going to be around 40% for people making a lot of money. So things to think about there, about what's going to be best for you based on your tax brackets. But either way, there's tax advantages. All right, so any advice for those who have IRAs? Roths or traditionals? Which one is better and why, in your opinion? Or what situation would you get which? I'm putting you on the spot now.
I don't have law because they came out, I was Florida. But, what you don't, the taxes, you pay pre-taxes for it, and when your salaries are generally low, like you said, but that you keep putting it in, your salary goes up, you're gonna pay for that. But the benefit is the accumulation, you don't pay tax on the money you earn in that thing. And if it's in there 20, 30, 40 years, every year you're making more and more on that expanding amount. When you take it out, you don't pay taxes on anything. Now, with a regular IRA, it's like you said, except that it's 70 and a half years old, you must start taking it out, and then you pay taxes on that. Well, aware of that.
I think they rigged that to 72 now.
Did they?
It is that.
Yeah, I think just recently, I think they did. Well, I'm well past 72. And they're called RMDs, they're required minimum distributions. And they're not severe.
No.
It's like mine was around 3%. Well, the taxes on it now.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. We talked about the nest egg example, how to get you $1 million, and the key there is, besides investing regularly and starting young, is the exponential gains you get. The time factor, how long it's in, the more it's going to make for you. And so, yeah, so if that's not getting taxed, that's as it grows, that adds up over time for sure. Thank you for sharing, Jack. Okay, next slide, please. 529 plans. Anybody have a 529 plan? No? Yes, yeah. Yeah, so
We had one, but it wasn't this same thing, but it was
It wasn't like a state. Like for education for.
okay. So an alliance-based
probably
one.
kind of
Okay, yeah, this I know a little about. I've done a little bit of research, but basically this is one specifically for education. So as a parent, you can get one for your kids, and then the money you put into it has tax advantages while it's growing, and you can use that to pay for your kids' education, tax-free on withdrawal, and if you don't end up using all of that money or they don't go to college, you can roll over up to $35,000 of that into an IRA, provided it's at least 15 years old. So I will say the con of this one is if you as a parent have this for your kid, when you go to fill out the FAFSA, which is like federal aid, something I forget what it stands for. Basically, when you apply for college, and all the youth, make sure you're paying attention. If you intend to go to college, you want to get financial aid. The government offers a lot of grants, Pell Grants, and different types of loans. There's federal loans versus private loans that you can get. And to determine your eligibility for those things, you have to, or your parents have to fill out this application. Basically, they write up how much money they have, what their income is, how many kids you have, all these different factors. And then based on that, they say, hey, you are eligible for X amount of Pell Grants, which you don't have to pay back, and you don't have to pay interest on, or you are eligible for this type of federal grant. Federal grants usually have a lower interest rate, so it's preferable to do that over getting a private loan. You'll get a better interest rate, which means you're paying less money in the long run. But, so back to the 529s. If your parents get a 529, any money that's in it will be counted as income. So having that will actually reduce the amount of aid you will be eligible for. So that's kind of a con of this and something to keep in mind. And I've known people who this has been a very painful surprise to them. They're saving for so long and they finally go to use it and then they find out, oh, I was hoping to get this much assistance and I had this much saved up. That's how we're going to pay for it. And now, no, they're not going to make that much because they saved up. So it kind of penalizes people for saving. So it is what it is. However, the pro of this, and this is a more recent change, grandparents. So youth, make sure you really buddy with your grandparents. All right, spend a lot of time with them. Get them to invest in you. Grandparents can get a 529, and that income is invisible to the FAFSA. So if your grandparents have it and they use that for your education, then when your parents file for the FAFSA, that doesn't count as income. It will have no effect on your eligibility or benefits. So that is one pro to it. Why? And you know, this, as you get into money, especially into stocks, there's so many rules and regulations and loopholes, and this is kind of one. There's like a whole dance you can do. And I won't get into it too much with stocks, and honestly, I don't know all the dance in stocks, but you could have days and days worth of learning about stocks and investments and still have more to learn. There's so many rules and tricks. We're not going to go that deep tonight, but just a note about your education. So remember, be kind. You should already be respecting your elders. But if you want to get help with your college cost, be especially kind. And make sure you have them watch this so they know. All right, next slide, please. The rise of institutional investing. So I've kind of dating myself a bit here, or not dating myself, I should say. By institutional investing, I mean the ability for people who aren't professional investors to invest in traditionally things that they couldn't. So I'm talking about hedge funds, investment firms, people like Invesco, Morgan Stanley, all the big guys with billions and billions of dollars, where this is what they do for a living. They buy companies, they sell companies, they invest. Traditionally, it's been hard for people like us who have day jobs and not in that to invest. But in the past couple of years, that has changed. And so I'm dating myself here, and Steve and I were talking about E-Trade earlier. I remember maybe the 90s or early 2000s, E-Trade was advertising, hey, you can come trade with us online, and it costs you only $7 per trade. That was a big deal, because you can trade online. You yourself can go trade. Hey, that is awesome, and it's only $7. $7 is a lot more back then than it is now. That's not much, but the point is, that's a lot per trade in today's terms, especially when you have vehicles like Robinhood, pictured over on the right, where you can buy and sell and trade for free. There's no fees, there's no minimums. Anybody can, well, I don't know if anybody can do it. You might have to be 18. Although I think, no, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Look into that. But anybody, assuming they're eligible, can do this. Probably to be like US citizens, stuff like that. And Robinhood is just one platform. There's a whole bunch out there. I was using Webull for a bit, but I will say I did move away from them because they are actually owned by the Chinese government. Not that they've done anything wrong, but I'd rather just use an American company. So I use Robinhood, but there's a lot out there. I won't particularly say there's one's better than the other. Now that said, they've made it a lot easier for people like us to invest, but they're still kind of the man. They're still owned by institutional investors. So the way they make their money, and with stocks, getting technical here a little bit, there's things called the bid and the ask spread. So let's say Steve and I are trading stocks. Steve has a Microsoft stock, one of my favorites, and I want to buy it for $100. That's a really good deal right now. I want to buy it for 100. I'm offering 100. Steve wants 105. So there's the bid and the ask, and the spread is $5, right? So they're running through the algorithms. They do all this stuff, whatever. And basically, how they make their money, but then they tell you, is they'll get the selling price to be, say, $102, but I will pay $103, and then Robinhood keeps the difference, right? So that's how it's free for me, but Robinhood still makes money, or whatever your vehicle is. Whatever the sale price is, the ask price is actually slightly underneath of that, and Robinhood pocketed the difference. But what they advertise is the value that you'll buy it at. But stuff changes so fast, and I'm not going to pretend I know what their numbers are, but that's how they make money. That's how it's free. But still offers a lot of value and a lot of things you can do. Now on Robinhood, and I'm not sure if every platform offers this. You can buy stocks, you can buy ETFs, or what does ETF stand for? Exchange traded funds. REITs, that's more real estate. Anybody know what REIT means? R-E-I-T. Real estate, investment, trading, sure. Something like that. Cryptocurrency. I think everybody has probably heard of crypto. It's basically a digital currency. It has no physical asset. It doesn't appreciate, but it's relatively new and very volatile. So you can make a lot of money or lose a lot of money very quick using crypto. There are some benefits as far as security and being able to not have it confiscated because you can store it on the thumb drive. Anyway, I won't digress into crypto. Options, and I don't know a lot about options, and I haven't traded options myself, but from what I have learned, this is a way you can make money when a stock goes down. Well, you want to buy it at 100, have it increase in price to 110, sell it, hey, you made $10. Well, with options, if it's at 100 and it goes down to 90, you can still make money. Well, how is that? How does that work? So an options is basically you come into a contract and say, Steve wants to keep his Microsoft stock. He wants to hang on to it and make money off the dividends. But in the meantime, he's going to come into a contract with me and say, hey, John, for $3, I'll let you use my stock for options trading. And I say, okay, well, I think Microsoft's going to go down in value. So I am going to borrow Steve's stock. I'm going to sell it right away because I think it's going to go down in value. I'm going to sell it to Josiah. I think you're a sucker, and it's going to go down in value. So I'm going to sell it to you. No, just kidding. Josiah's not a sucker. Very, very intelligent man. Just kind of getting you guys laughing at someone else's expense. Right? So I sell it to someone. Price goes down to $90. I go and buy it from someone else for $90. I go back to Steve, and I give it back. So Steve keeps his stock, and he makes a few bucks off of it because of our contract. I make $10, and somebody else is stuck with a loss somewhere. But that's how you can make money on options when you think a stock is going to decrease in value. Yeah, a lot of the stock market sounds like roulette. So back to the whole concept of what investment should you use and what's a good investment for you. That's a very volatile one. You can trade on something called margin. And in that case, you can lose more money than what you actually put into it. So let's say you think it's going to go down, but it actually goes up. So I buy it for 100, I sell it right away for 100, but then it goes up to 200 or 300, whatever it is. And now I'm like, oh no, this is really bad. And I have to give it back to Steve by tomorrow. I have to go buy it for whatever the current price is and have to go give it back. So that's how you can lose money with options. So there's a whole dance, there's a whole game you can do. I'll just tell you a little bit, you can research it. There's a lot of people out there that do this for a living. There's a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot you can learn. Anyway, hopefully that's just a quick intro. Yes?
I'm sorry, would you like to comment on, like if someone doesn't feel comfortable or feel that they know enough, like as far as being able to trade on their own or whatever, like other options, like funds that would be kind of set or like say target date funds or in a Vanguard account?
Yeah.
Somebody else is really managing it. Essentially.
Yeah. You can get a wealth manager, somebody else can do it for you, or kind of like the retirement vehicles, that's essentially what that is. Like there are a lot of them are with Vanguard or someone else. So you give them your money, you're actually paying a fee, yearly or monthly fee, but they do all the investing for you. So kind of back to the concept of there's a whole different spectrum of how much time you want to put into it versus how much time you have. You got to find the balance that works for you, whether that's doing all this yourself and you're day trading, or you're just putting money away and not even thinking about it, and someone else is managing your wealth. There are a lot of, very good point, there are a lot of people and companies out there that invest like that or offer that service. Corey?
Question while you're talking about investing. Is there anybody here that ever had any experience with investing with physical people? It's the savings partner that's for investing for people with disabilities.
Yeah.
It's kind of like like your 401k. They can separate it into like a checking account or into a 401k type account. And you can only contribute like, I think it's like 15,000 a year or something like that.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the feedback. Talk a little bit more. I'm gonna try to get through these other slides quick so we can talk more about that. Next slide, please. Slide 11. Renting versus buying. There's a lot of debate here, and again, this comes down to your personal situation, and really, and to some extent, your physical ability, because you do have to upkeep a house if you own one, right? So there's lots of different scenarios and answers here, but in general, and in my opinion, I would say it's better to own your home than to rent. And again, that's not always the true, or not always the best answer, but in most cases, I would say it is. And a lot of people fight. If you look on the internet, they'll argue over that. But so why do I think that? Well, for renting, there is value in not having to maintain a home, but renting is just paying someone else's mortgage. Nothing is free. If it's not yours and you're paying somebody, they've got to be paying for it. So you're just paying somebody else's mortgage. Now that said, it may be from a renter's perspective. If you own or landlord's perspective, the longer you own a home, the easier it is to rent it. Let's say you buy a mortgage now, and this is because of inflation. So you buy a mortgage now, let's say you're paying $500 a month. So $500 today is a lot less than $500 20 years from now. So let's say you're charging $700 rent, you're making $200 extra today. 20 years, you could be charging, I don't know, $3,000 for rent, but you're still paying that $500 on your mortgage. So the returns you can get, or how much rent you can charge, will increase with time, but that gives you some options because your mortgage won't increase. So, and if you pay the home off, then it's pure profit, right? So it's kind of a time game. It takes a while to get to that point, and you got to have the upfront income to own it, be able to pay that, and to make small returns at first. And there's a whole different bunch of variables. But so I won't say explicitly renting is not better, but just some of my thoughts. I would, in this point in my life, I'd rather be. I'm glad I'm paying a mortgage and not throwing away money in rent that I'll never see again. Yeah, so mortgages, you can get your money back upon selling, plus you get a return of the house appreciating, assuming you didn't buy a house that was way overpriced and a situation where you shouldn't have bought it and you way overpaid for it, or you didn't do your homework and bought a house that has a lot of issues that you had to throw a lot of money into. So, but again, effort versus return. You've always got to put some level of effort into it. I will say, this blows my mind because real estate is crazy right now. It's a great time if you're a seller. Maybe not so much to be a buyer, but again, if you do buy, be wary of that. Think all these thoughts through because real estate can go up and down, not as much as stocks. But example, in my neighborhood, I moved in 2014, and in 2015, a house sold for $27,000. I thought that was a fair price, maybe even a little undervalued because of the work that needed to be done to it. 2023, it sold above asking price at $96,000. And I thought, I wouldn't have been paid, I maybe would have paid half that. And now it's pending at $130,000, not even a year later. And they haven't put, they put some money into the house, but not nearly as much as they're making back. That just blows my mind. But again, it's taken some effort, and moving isn't always easy or fun. So trade-offs. Okay, next slide, please. All right, Fundrise, an easy way to get into real estate investing. They have an app for that. Don't want to be a landlord, but want to make money off real estate? There's an app for that. This is one that I use, and I have had a lot of success. And no, that's not my screenshot. That's off their website. There's only a $10 minimum to invest. That's a lot less than having to buy a house. You know, you can own part of real estate for $10 all over the world, or in the country, I should say. It's a lot less volatile than stocks. Homes don't lose or gain value nearly as much as stocks do, but it's a lot more stable, and that can be good, depending on where you're at in your investment journey. With Fundrise, you can earn money multiple ways. You can earn it from appreciation, as the value of the property just increases with time. You can earn money from rental income, from people renting out the property that you have shares in. And they also offer loans to builders to build property, and they make interest money off of those loans. So you can make money off of loaning your money to people who are building real estate. So several different ways, and you can choose kind of which vehicle or kind of which one you want to focus on. So like with stocks going down, there's usually like a 6-month lag between stocks and the real estate market. And so with stocks going down in Fundrise, I move my money out of the appreciation fund and into the dividend and like rental income fund. And so that way, even though the values did depreciate, the cost of the shares did go down, I wasn't really taking a hit because I was just making rental income. So you have that flexibility as well. Also, a side note, the trend, the 6-month lag, that works the other way too. Stock markets started going up in about October. We're now 6 months out from that. So a lot of people think we're kind of at a bottom for the real estate market. So can't tell the future, but historical data says now it's probably the bottom, plus or minus, for real estate. So this might be a good time to get in. So you can, and if you look at the historic returns, I think Fundrise, their average, depending on what fund, was like 8%. If you do the math of what it takes to be a landlord and all the work you got to put in to maintain a home, paperwork, taxes, and all that, it comes out to be about even. Case by case basis, but you can make about the same return without doing all the work. So that's why I've chosen to go into Fundrise, at least now. That, and I don't have enough money to buy a second house. So, and there's a lot of other competing apps available as well. Okay, next slide, please. Securities and investments. There's lots of stuff out there you can do. These are little to no risk, but the return is not as high either. I'm sure a lot of you have heard bonds, CDs, savings accounts. What I recently learned about with all this inflation was I-bonds, or inflation bonds. These are actually a really good time to get I-bonds when inflation goes through the roof. We're returning at over 7%. That's really good for a security, right? So the concept behind that is there's limits on how much you can get. I think it was like 15,000, 10,000. Okay, I'm glad to hear others are familiar with it. Thank you. Maybe for a couple, it was 15. Anyway.
I think you can do it as a couple, but I think it's 10,000 each, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, something like that. There's limits, but it's a fair amount. 10,000 at 7%. It's pretty good. So the concept behind it is the government's trying to get money out of the economy. So they say, hey, give us your money. We'll give you 7%. Get that money out of the market. So that stops spending, kind of helps inflation to come down, and encourages you by giving you a percentage investment. So that was a good one when inflation's high. I'm going to ask my bankers now, and I know some of you guys have done CDs. Actually, the church had a CD. What can you tell me about CDs and bonds and going through that process? Will you say it's easy to do? What's your bond and CD experience been? Anyone?
I would say bonds aren't really a thing with the bank. You see a lot of people bring them in, like when they cash them from like 1972, and then they're just like sitting in their attic. Like paper bonds, I would say, but more so CDs are very easy to set up.
What does CD stand for?
Certificate of deposit.
Okay, thank you.
And depending on how long you want to put the CD in, or your money in a CD for, the rates vary. So I think currently at Midland Bank, the 3 and 6 month APY is about 5.2, and then it's a special rate going on. So then when you go up to like the 12 month and beyond, it's going to just decrease from there. So I think like the 12 month is like 4.75, and so on. If you keep going up, it's going to keep dropping in APY. But it takes, all you need is a minimum of $500, and it takes like 2 seconds to get in there.
You just go in the bank and do it. Can you do it online?
You can do it on the bank, or you can do it on
Ooh, do it online. There you go. So you have to spend the gas to get there.
I mean, you figure if you've got money in a regular savings account getting nothing, if your money can sit a little longer, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, we just bought an 11-month for 5.25%. I mean, if you don't need it, you might as well have it in a CD. I mean, that's my thinking. You might as well have it in something that's making more money than just 0.08% in a regular savings account. So
Okay.
whatever it is, if it's that.
All right, so let's share a little bit here. So what you said 5 and what?
I just got one, just bought one about 2 weeks ago at Members First for 5.25. I think that was an 11-month CD. That was their best percentage. I think they may have, I think they changed, I look at the board, but they changed it, it could be the 6 month is now 5%.
Yeah, it changed.
But
Yeah.
I've been buying them gradually as I see the percentage going up. Like I said, 5% will go wrong.
So anything higher than 5, we say 5.25. And what would you say, Josh? It was 5, 5.2. All right, I feel like I'm like bidding here. Come on, who's got a higher bid? Who knows where the best bond is right now, or the best CD? Anybody know something higher than that? There's Members First and Mid-Penn. I knew it was with an M something. Oh yeah, let's call Sean.
It's very, I mean, Members First is very easy. Like you said, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at most. Very easy to do.
Okay.
Super easy.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's if you let it sit there in your savings account or checking or have it get 5%. Yeah. Any other thoughts on bonds or CDs? Okay, thanks for sharing those percentages. Good to know. All right, let's go to the forum time then. Second to last slide. Thank you. So, what is your best earthly investment? Talking about just from a financial standpoint. And let's just leave it at that. What's your best investment you've ever had? Sean?
Ford Motor, I bought a Ford Motor at $1.50. Sold it. Well, yeah, $20.
Yeah.
But it went up to like 100.
That reminds me of a saying that's not mine. You can try to time the market, right? You try to sell it at highest, buy at the lowest, sell the highest. But that's almost impossible to do. It's easy to miss, easy to beat yourself up over. So the other saying is time in the market. Stocks and prices always historically go up. Inflation always goes up, right? Kind of the same is true for stocks if the company continues to be successful and continues to exist. So whether it's going up or down, just in general, the longer you own it, the higher you'll have it. So kind of a long-term game. It's kind of what Lynn was asking. For someone who doesn't want to be catching the low and high, spending all the time and effort, just holding, you'll get the dividend return, and over time it'll increase. It's a different trading strategy. So time in the market versus time in the market. Thank you for sharing, Sean.
Ours was left farm. We bought it, I don't even know, and $12 a share.
It's trading around $450 right
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we sold it
For less than that, but
for a lot less than that.
That's still more than you bought it for.
It's not my decision to sell. And so I still kick myself and somebody else convincing me to sell that
Yeah.
stock. But that was an excellent.
Yeah.
But you were talking about stocks. If you're going to buy stocks, try to get from companies that are very stable and pay a good dividend constantly. If you set that up, you can end up living off the dividends, and you never have to sell the stock. And the dividends just keep coming in, and you can have whoever you're invested with send you a dividend check monthly or quarterly, and you can get a fair amount of your income covered, especially
requirement. with something.
Yeah, so we kind of asked what's the best single investment. Let's kind of switch that to best investment type. So we talked about stocks. Let's talk about dividend investments. What's the best dividend to cost investment you have, or stock ratio? So let's say a stock at $10 to buy is giving a $2 dividend. That's a 20% return on dividend. That's really good. I don't know what that stock is, but any of you know? IVR has actually have a pretty high dividend, and the price is pretty low. It's a REIT, I believe, one that I've been enjoying. But
My mother, as a young woman, her grandmother passed away, and she inherited a small amount of stock from DuPont. She's from Delaware, where
Mhm.
the DuPont royal. So she had that all of her life, and got dividends from that stock all her life, and until she passed away. And it was, so, yeah, she hung in there for those long hauls. She had no reason particularly to sell it, and so she would get sometimes these dividends. So, yeah, hanging in there sometimes with a long haul is,
yeah, yeah, most times. Is that a hand, Corey?
That's, your first question, and that's, I don't remember what the stock was initially, but 50,000 I put into it, and I made back for 50, like 2 months, like $6,000. Best I would have, but that was during, back in 2010, the Trump was in office, but the things started going south. I had them switch into some more stable stock with the rest of the original. So, fluctuating a lot. Still, like you were saying, still the dividends, you can plug in and just keep on going. And just, when some comes in, you just, buy a little bit more.
Yeah. There was another, because I've gone through my stock journey. I started in 2020, which was a crazy time to get started. But Shaylee and I always laugh because, we always say all girls are so emotional and drama. Well, that's the stock market and guys. You look at, so-and-so broke his toe. Sell, 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 sell. These prices are like crazy over the silliest things, and a lot of it just makes me laugh. But at the same time, it can be kind of sad to just how emotional and, okay. But yeah, we always joke about how emotional stock can be. If you're making emotional trades, that's usually a bad thing, by the way. If you're making an unplanned purchase unplanned selling of stock, that's usually not a good sign. So try to avoid making emotional. Yeah.
Just another thing on that is, you can go online and take tests for the type of investor you are, because it measures your tolerance, your risk tolerance and anxiety levels. And you take a little like personality test, and it tells you where you fall. They ask you questions, because most of these the ups and downs and selling and wild selling is they're sold on emotion. And the rule, you mentioned your rule when you started, is you want to buy low and sell high. And, I can tell you family things with my own sister, when her husband, my brother-in-law, he had at work, that he 401k type thing, and he had stocks, and all of a sudden, the stock market, they had one of them things where it dropped. She was aware of that, and she couldn't take it. He didn't make any money because she sold them when they're on. And a year and a half later, they were up past where they were before. And so everyone should realize that. Some way to stabilize that, instead of buying individual stocks, is to go to index funds. And what that is, you can buy the same class of stocks, but there might be 40 to 60 stocks in that index fund. And some of them love, some of them are lower. In other words, it does that. Where I ended up doing is dollar cost averaging. In index funds, in other words, I got so much to pay, put in every month. And I ended up not paying attention to this market, because as many. So that means you're buying fewer at a higher rate. And when it's low, you buy more. But time of life has to do with it. When you have time till retirement, you can take more risks. And then you should be able to get back and move into bonds and stuff like that as you get to the thing. Then if you talk to a coach or like Vanguard, Fidelity, and those other big name ones, they're very good. I've dealt with Vanguard. I didn't start this till I was 55. So it's not like I started back when I was 20 because I had too many kids.
Yeah.
But there's a lot, but you should never work with anything that you can't afford if you're gonna need it, right? Because you'll end up losing your shirt, or you panic and pull it out and it's not perfect. When I first started with Nin, I used to print out every day when the stock market, when I got home from work, I printed out so I could see what they did that day. That's where I started, and all of a sudden I thought, wait. So then I realized that, I said to myself, either I'm gonna stay in it, you're gonna stop this nonsense, or you're gonna pull down. I'll put it in the miners, at the time it was Miners National Bank or something like that, or one of the community banks or whatever, they're blocking them out, whoever blocked them out. But anyway, there's a lot to be done there, and it's been good to me. I mean, since I'm 55, I've had it in for a while, but over time, it builds up because you put the same amount. In other words, it's just
Yeah, the dollar cost averaging. Yeah, that's another key term, and risk tolerance. Yeah, I apologize. Those are two terms I didn't say, but very important. Yeah. So go look those up as well. Good to know. So dollar cost averaging, no matter what you're putting money in, that's going for like the long haul investing. So sometimes you buy when it's low, sometimes you buy when it's high. You're not making a panic decision of, oh, it's sinking and sinking, I need to sell. It's just slow and steady. So kind of think of, okay, let's go to math and trig. If your sine wave, this is your emotion, oh, high, low, high, low, high, low. Well, you notice the average over time is going up and to the right. So if you just stay steady, you have a plan, you're sticking with it, you're not being affected, you're not getting stressed out, you don't have the anxiety of looking the high, low, trying to time it.
And they have that plan for each individual like mutual fund. In other words, they can plot that over 5, 10, 20-year periods and how it's been, or since inception. It'll show you how, when it makes you feel better, that at the end of the day, it's headed up.
Yeah.
But I always just had my dividends roll right back in because I didn't need them. But if you need them, if the option was there, they send them to you quarterly. And whatever they pay, I don't know, some of them pay twice quarterly, some of them pay twice a year, some of them only pay once a year.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing you can get into is what's the term? When you buy a stock and they decide the stock owners as of this date are the ones who get the dividend. That's a whole other type of trading. I apologize, the term is escaping, but you could look at, then they'll publish that. So you can know that ahead of time. You can say, okay, I want to buy 100 shares of whatever today, own it tomorrow morning at, 9:30 when the market opens. You are officially an owner of record. You can sell it 2 minutes later, but you'll still get all the dividends. Now, it will sell X dividend, which means the value of the stock, let's say you bought it at $100, opening, if the dividend is $1, the value will decrease by $1. But they usually jump up and around. You can make whatever that difference is. And so you break even, but still get the dividend pretty easily. So yeah, the X dividend date, that's the term. That's a whole other thing you can do. All right, so it is past time. I had some other questions here. Let's see.